So if you guys are curious, please feel free to. Good morning, spider baggers, and if you're anywhere else outside the Philippines, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Anyway, Spider Keith here, back with another video, and for this review, we're gonna take an in-depth look at the Marvel Legends Silk figure from 2016. It's kind of a timely flashback review if you ask me, since the FanVote 2020 Silk has recently been released, like a few months back, so we are here to see if this old one is still a worthy figure to buy. I'm pretty sure this one will depreciate in value, but it still depends on where you look. Green Hills does tend to overprice, so to speak, but the cult following of a specific piece will always dictate the price point. I don't think Silk belongs to that category yet. I mean, she did win fan vote for a re-release, but it's still not enough following for retailers to overprice. So, in my very honest opinion, you guys should be safe. Why do I say that? Well, Silk here is a relatively new character, like mid-2010s new, so I doubt that a lot of Spider-Man fans would hold her to the same level as Mary Jane, Black Cat, or even Silver Sable. I suppose my viewers already know who Silk is, but for those who don't know, Silk was created by Dan Slott and Humberto Ramos, and her entire character arc stems from what I can recall is that the same spider which bit Peter Parker also bit her afterwards, and as a result, whenever Peter and oh, by the way, Silk's actual name is Cindy Moon. So yeah, where was I? So basically, whenever the two get in proximity, they tend to have this super spider coitus as second nature. Before we move on to the main figure itself, Silk here comes with this interchangeable head, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So on to the figure itself. Cindy Moon here is of Asian/American descent. I do remember she's Korean perhaps, but do I think the figure translates her ethnicity impeccably? To me, that's more of a no. Especially the fact that she's supposed to be Korean, so she has to have squinty eyes, at the very least. If there's any figure that looks Asian, that's gotta be Sable. So, sorry to say, but no. This piece does not look the part of having any Asian roots. Regardless, I do think that this is one of the better made female head sculpts to come out of 2016. It was perfected with the 2017 MJ 2-pack, of course, but with the way Silk was done, you couldn't ask for more. Oh wait, you could. Now that we have a remastered Silk, in hindsight, the paint apps for this one do look a tad on the dull side. It's not a gripe by any means. I guess it depends on what colorway you prefer, to be honest. Of course, I would prefer it if I had the newer colorway, but it's still not enough for me to buy another Silk figure just for the sake of that and a few extra accessories. So, no, Hasbro. Sorry, but I could live without those. In all fairness, Hasbro should have went for a new character instead, and with this particular body mold, Spinret from Renew Your Vows would have been the best option. Heck, even fans were speculating the same thing as I was, only to be met in disappointment. Cause apart from the colorway change, I'd say the Silk 2016 is just as good as the new one. So yeah, way too premature and way too unnecessary for Hasbro to have made a remake. Alright, so moving forward with the articulation, and I've said this again and again, this figure has the standard points you would expect from any Marvel Legends figure. Starting off with the diaphragm joint. She can go that far back. Let me just focus that. The arms can go that far up horizontally. Single jointed elbows, as is the standard for any female Marvel Legends figure. She can only split that much, but she has double jointed knees. Her head can go that far down, but could not further go that far up because her hair restricts her from doing so. And then finally ankle pivot. Oh, and for those of you who want to see the half-mast silk, let me show you guys how that looks. Alright, so there you have it. Half-mast silk. This figure stands at just about 6.2 inches tall, and I know what you guys are thinking. Why am I still using this scale when all along it's not a fairly accurate one? Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able to include a new scale on my agenda of things to buy back in Shopee's 11/11 2 days back. But the measurements for here are not entirely that far off. So for the time being, we will still be using this. And just a side-by-side comparison, here is Silk next to SPDR and Penny Parker. Here she is next to the Mighty Mugs Spider-Man and the Happy Meal Wonder Woman from the Justice League movie back in 2017. And then finally, here we have Silk next to the Variable Action Heroes Boa Hancock, which I also made a video of previously. So if you guys are curious, please feel free to... Final thoughts before we rate this thing. I personally don't find anything wrong with her legs. Some of the guys here on YouTube do think they're on the skinny preteen side, which they are, but if you're in the Philippines, women older than 25 do have body types like this. So I guess it really depends on the type of demographic that you're surrounded with. I guess if you're in California, most of you guys are bombarded with the thick Instagram girls, whereas if you live in developing countries like mine, you'd get girls beyond 25 looking like this. So yeah, I'd say this is a pretty normal body mold for a grown woman, or at least back where I live. As for my overall rating, I'm giving Silk here a decent 7.5, mostly in part of the way the paint apps were done evenly, which in my opinion makes or breaks the quality of the piece. So I'm pretty lucky that I got a pretty decent paint shop for this one. Alright, so that is it for the review. If you guys haven't done so yet, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future videos. This is Spider Keith, formerly known as Spider Kit Kat, and more formerly known as Spider Love. Thank you and God bless.